Every Muslim UFC fighter, faith and fighting glory, explained. You know what's crazy? Some of the most dominant, most feared, and most respected fighters in UFC history share something beyond just their ability to break bones and choke people unconscious. They share a faith that teaches discipline, respect, and submission to a higher power, and they've turned those principles into championship gold and legendary status inside the octagon. Listen, bro, I've been following MMA for years, and there's something special about watching Muslim fighters compete, whether it's the way they carry themselves, their incredible discipline, or that unshakable mental toughness that comes from deep faith. These fighters have consistently produced some of the most memorable moments in UFC history. Today, we're breaking down every major Muslim UFC fighter who's made their mark in the octagon, from the undefeated legends who retired on top to the current champions who are rewriting the record books. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why Muslim fighters aren't just competing in the UFC, they're dominating it. The eagle soars, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Let's start with the man who changed everything. Khabib, the eagle, Nurmagomedov. This man didn't just fight, he mauled people. 29 fights, 29 wins, 0 losses. Let that sink in for a second. In a sport where everyone eventually loses, where one bad night can end your career, Khabib walked away undefeated as the lightweight champion of the world. But here's what made Khabib special. It wasn't just his wrestling, though his wrestling was like watching a human anaconda work. It wasn't just his ground and pound, though he hit harder from top position than most guys hit standing up. It was his mental game. Remember UFC 229? The biggest pay-per-view in UFC history at that time. Conor McGregor had spent months attacking Khabib's religion, his family, his country. The trash talk was personal, it was nasty, and it was designed to get under Khabib's skin. And what did Khabib do? He stayed calm, he stayed focused, and then he systematically dismantled McGregor for 4 rounds before choking him unconscious. Khabib's stats are just ridiculous. 13 takedowns landed against McGregor, 21 significant strikes landed from top position, and a submission that made the biggest trash talker in MMA tap like he was playing patty cake. The man defended his title 3 times, never lost a round in a title fight, and retired at 32 years old because he promised his mother he would after his father passed away. That's not just championship mentality, that's character. The Dagestani dream continues. Islam Makhachev. Now, if Khabib was the king, then Islam Makhachev is the rightful heir to the throne. Islam didn't just inherit Khabib's belt, he earned it, and then he made it his own. Currently ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Islam has a professional record of 25-1 with 16 stoppages. The man has the second highest win percentage in UFC history at 94.1%. But what makes Islam different from Khabib is his evolution. Where Khabib was primarily a wrestler who learned to strike, Islam came in as a more complete fighter. His striking is cleaner, his submissions are slicker, and his fight IQ might be even higher. Look at his title defenses. He's defended the lightweight belt 4 times, which ties him for the most consecutive lightweight title defenses in UFC history. He's beaten Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight GOAT. He's dominated Dustin Poirier, one of the best lightweights ever, and he's done it all while making it look easy. The crazy part? Islam is still getting better. At 33 years old, he's in his prime, and there's nobody at 155 pounds who looks like they can touch him. The Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman. Let's talk about the man who ruled welterweight for 3 years. Kamaru, the Nigerian nightmare, Usman. Usman's story is incredible. Born in Nigeria, moved to the United States as a kid, became a Division I wrestler, and then turned into one of the most dominant welterweight champions in UFC history. From 2019 to 2022, Usman was untouchable at 170 pounds. He defended his title 5 times, went on a 15-fight UFC win streak, and beat every top contender in the division. Jorge Masvidal dominated him twice. Colby Covington beat him twice, including a brutal knockout in their rematch. Gilbert Burns dropped him with a right hand that could have put a hole in the canvas. What made Usman special was his evolution as a fighter. Early in his career, he was known as a wrestler who would grind out decisions. But by the time he became champion, he was knocking people out with his hands and making elite strikers look amateur. His knockout of Jorge Masvidal at UFC 261 was one of the most perfectly timed right hands in UFC history. Masvidal was coming forward, throwing a jab, and Usman stepped back and countered with a right hand that sent Jorge to the shadow realm. The timing, the power, the precision, it was beautiful violence. Remember the name, Belal Muhammad. Remember the name, Belal Muhammad. Speaking of welterweight, we've got to talk about the current champion. Belal, remember the name, Muhammad. This man grinded his way to the top through pure determination and skill. Belal went on a 10-fight unbeaten streak in the welterweight division, beating guys like Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, and Stephen Thompson before finally getting his title shot. And when he got that shot against Leon Edwards at UFC 304, he didn't just win, he dominated. 5 rounds of wrestling, striking, and pure technical excellence to become the new welterweight champion. What I love about Belal is his journey. He wasn't handed anything. He wasn't a hyped prospect. He just kept winning, kept improving, and kept proving that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. The Boers, Khamzat Chimaev. Now let's talk about the most terrifying prospect in the UFC, Khamzat Boers Chimaev. This man is undefeated at 13-0, and he's not just winning fights, he's ending careers. In his first 3 UFC fights, Chimaev absorbed a total of 1 significant strike. 1. That's not fighting. That's systematic destruction of human beings. His UFC debut was legendary. He took the fight on 10 days' notice, moved up a weight class, and finished John Phillips in the 2nd round. Then, 10 days later, he fought again and submitted Rhys McKee in the 1st round. 2 fights in 10 days, 2 finishes, and he barely broke a sweat. The scary part about Khamzat is his versatility. He can wrestle like a Dagestani, strike like a Dutch kickboxer, and he has that rare combination of technique and violence that makes him must-watch TV. His fight against Gilbert Burns showed that he can go to war when he needs to. Burns hurt him, tested him, and pushed him to his limits. And Khamzat responded by digging deep and getting the decision win. That fight proved he's not just a hype train, he's the real deal. The Nomad, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Let's give some love to one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, Shavkat Nomad Rakhmonov. This man is 18-0 with 18 finishes. Read that again, he's never been to a decision and he's never lost a fight. In the UFC, he's 6-0 with 6 finishes, including submissions and knockouts. He's like a Swiss Army knife of violence. Rakhmonov's ground game is beautiful to watch. His submissions are technical masterpieces, and his striking is crisp and powerful. He's the kind of fighter who can finish you anywhere, anytime, and you won't see it coming until you're already unconscious or tapping out. The veterans and legends. We can't forget about the veterans who paved the way. Beneil Dariush, the Iranian-American lightweight, who's been a top contender for years and has some of the slickest jiu-jitsu in the division. Nasrat Haqparast, the Afghan-German lightweight with knockout power in both hands. Otman Azaita, the Moroccan-German fighter who started his UFC career with back-to-back knockouts. And Amir Albazi, the Iraqi flyweight who's quietly putting together an impressive win streak and could be a future title contender. The converts and inspirations. What's really interesting is seeing fighters who've converted to Islam and how it's changed their approach to fighting and life. Manel Kape, the Angolan flyweight, converted to Islam in 2024 and has spoken about how it's brought peace and focus to his life. These conversions aren't just personal decisions. They often represent a complete lifestyle change that affects training, diet, mindset, and approach to competition. The Dagestani dominance. We have to talk about Dagestan specifically because this small Russian republic has produced more elite Muslim fighters per capita than anywhere else in the world. The training culture in Dagestan is legendary. Kids start wrestling before they can walk. The mountains provide natural conditioning, and the mentorship system, where older fighters take younger ones under their wing, creates a pipeline of elite talent. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Khabib's father, created a training philosophy that combined traditional Dagestani wrestling with modern MMA techniques. The discipline, the work ethic, the mental toughness, it all comes from that Dagestani culture. The fighting philosophy. What makes Muslim fighters special isn't just their technique, it's their mindset. Islam teaches discipline, patience, respect for opponents, and the importance of preparation. These aren't just religious principles, they're perfect fighting principles. The 5 daily prayers create a routine and discipline that translates perfectly to training schedules. The month of Ramadan, where Muslims fast from sunrise to sunset, builds mental toughness and self-control that's invaluable in fighting. And the concept of jihad, which means struggle or effort, applies perfectly to the struggle of becoming a champion. It's about overcoming your own limitations, pushing through adversity, and never giving up. The respect factor. One thing I've always noticed about Muslim fighters is the respect they show their opponents. Win or lose, they're usually the first to embrace their opponent after the fight. They don't trash talk about religion or family. They let their fighting do the talking. Khabib never celebrated when he hurt opponents. Islam always helps his opponents up after knockdowns. This isn't weakness, it's strength. It's confidence. It's knowing that you don't need to be disrespectful to be dangerous. The numbers don't lie. Let's talk statistics because the numbers are incredible. Muslim fighters have some of the highest finishing rates in the UFC. They have some of the longest win streaks, and they consistently perform in big moments and title fights. Khabib's 29-0 record, Islam's 94.1% win percentage, Usman's 15-fight UFC win streak, Chimaev's perfect record with 13 finishes. These aren't just good numbers, they're historically great numbers. The cultural impact. Muslim fighters have changed the culture of MMA in positive ways. They've brought professionalism, respect, and discipline to a sport that was sometimes seen as barbaric. They've shown that you can be a devout person of faith and still be a killer in the cage. They've also brought global attention to the sport. Khabib versus McGregor wasn't just big in America, it was huge in Russia, the Middle East, and throughout the Muslim world. These fighters have expanded the UFC's global reach in ways that can't be measured just in pay-per-view numbers. The challenges and controversies. Of course, it hasn't always been easy. Muslim fighters have faced discrimination, stereotyping, and unfair treatment. The way some opponents and fans have attacked their religion has been disgusting at times. But what I respect about these fighters is how they've handled it. They've stayed true to their beliefs, they've let their fighting do the talking, and they've earned respect through their actions, not their words. The future looks bright. Looking ahead, the future of Muslim fighters in the UFC looks incredible. The current generation is more well-rounded than ever, combining traditional wrestling and grappling with world-class striking and modern training methods. We're seeing Muslim fighters in every division, from flyweight to heavyweight. They're not just participating, they're dominating and setting the standard for what elite MMA looks like. So there you have it, the incredible story of Muslim fighters in the UFC. From Khabib's undefeated legacy to Islam's current dominance, from Usman's welterweight reign to the rising stars who are carrying the torch forward. These fighters have shown that faith and fighting aren't contradictory, they're complementary. The discipline, respect, and mental toughness that come from deep religious conviction have translated into championship success and legendary status. But here's my question for you. Who do you think is the greatest Muslim UFC fighter of all time? Is it Khabib for retiring undefeated as champion? Islam for his current pound-for-pound dominance? Usman for his welterweight reign? Or maybe someone I didn't spend enough time on? Drop your pick in the comments below and tell me why you think they're the GOAT. And while you're down there, hit that like button if you learned something new about these incredible fighters, and subscribe because we've got more deep dives into MMA history coming your way. Also, let me know what group of fighters you want me to break down next. African fighters? European champions? Maybe we go completely wild and do a video on the best fighters from each continent. Until next time, keep training, keep watching, and remember, in the octagon, respect is earned, not given, and these Muslim fighters have earned all of ours.